Hello, I'm Brad Ellis, a co-creator of Cthulhu, a deck building game.
And I'm Philip Lawyer, another one of the co-creators of Cthulhu, a deck building game. The inspiration for the game came from two of the games that I was playing at the time, which was DC Comics' deck building game, which was a versus type game, and another game called Sentinels of the Multiverse, which was a cooperative game. And I really like the deck building aspect and the cooperative aspect because a lot of times when I play with friends, I don't want to play a game against them. So I couldn't really find any cooperative deck building games at the time. So I decided to take a shot at making one.
So there are 10 investigators, and we're looking at adding more through some stretch goals coming up if we're really successful with our Kickstarter. Um, and each character has their own special abilities. They have their own backstories. They've got a certain amount of health and sanity, and your goal is obviously to survive the onslaught of the elder gods and defeat them or banish them before you die or go crazy. So, which of the investigators have been your more fun one to play with?
The Gardener.
The
I love
guard.
the Gardener so much.
Yes. What is his backstory? Don't mind me. I'm just trimming the hedges. But his special abilities is he gets to peek into the mythos, so he knows what's coming next. And surprisingly enough, that is an extremely valuable skill to have.
Yeah, it lets you kind of plan what's coming up. I'm not sure how the Gardener became psychic, but that's how these things roll sometimes. uh, Another really great investigator that's just generally useful is the Professor because he gets a discount on all the costs from the cards in the library. I believe it's by two, so it subtracts it by two to a minimum of one. Mm-hmm. So he can kind of not really hoard cards, but get a lot of cards.
There's two phases in the game. In the first phase of the game is the planning phase, where you're basically you're activating cards from your hand. First you draw your hand from your deck, and then you activate cards at the beginning, and then you go into a research mode where you buy cards from the university, and then you can then activate. What's unique about this deck building game, those cards you buy don't get discarded immediately. They actually go in your hand, and you can actually activate those right then. You can't use them to buy other cards, but you can activate them at that point.
A good example of that is Body Armor. Body Armor is a card which you can play that will prevent 2 health loss from you from the next source. So you could buy Body Armor in the research phase and play it and be ready for any health loss that Cthulhu and his buddies might do to you.
Right, and then so each person takes their turn doing their planning, and then once as a group the investigators are done planning, then you move into the next phase of the game, which is combat. And during combat, the elder gods go first because they're the elder gods, right?
Right.
They have a special ability that goes off, which may spawn things. It may do bad things to the universe. It may just mess things up. And then you pull a card from the mythos deck that has what their punch to you in the face is. And a lot of times they spawn minions, and those minions fight against you, and most time damage your health or protect the elder god or lots of different things. Because the reason I'm having trouble describing what happens during these rounds is every game that I've played, we've play tested this so many times, has been completely unique. There's a lot of variability in here. There's rare cards, there's uncommon cards, there's common cards. Speak about some of the rare ones you got in there.
Some of my favorite rare mythos cards is I modeled them off the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: war, death, famine, and pestilence. Takes me a second to think of that. And there's one of each in the mythos deck, and there's about 90 cards total in the mythos deck, but there's 13 rares, which is one of each. And war, for example, makes anytime you damage a minion or an elder god, that damage is also done back to you, because that's what war does. It causes strife. Death brings everyone's hit points down, or technically it could bring them up to 5 hit points, which isn't a whole lot, which means if something else comes real quick, you're kind of hosed.
Indeed. So after the mythos card is played, then it's the minions' turn. The minions are obviously the elder gods Minions. um, so Shub, for example, he has 1,000 young. We've got Atlot has tarantulas.
There's at least one minion for every elder god. And if we add any more elder gods through backer levels or stretch goals, we will of course include a new minion with it, and obviously a new mythos card to spawn them. Because generally, either a minion only comes on the board through a mythos card or through an elder god special ability. They don't just come out of nowhere.
So after the minions go, the investigators get their chance at combat. At which point you're then using your moxie, which you've either saved from not buying things or you've gained from buying other cards, to fight either the minions or the elder gods to try to banish them from this plane of existence.
Yeah, and you also use that moxie to heal yourself. Depending on which investigator you are, it depends on how much moxie you have to spend to do that. Health or sanity. Now, at the end of the round, meaning you have the planning phase, then the combat phase, and then you have the end of the round, you discard all cards in your hand into your discard pile. Once your deck pile becomes empty, you shuffle up your discard pile and you make a new deck. So, like Brad said earlier, when you buy a card in most deck building games, it usually goes immediately into your discard pile. In this game, it goes into your hand that you can use in the combat phase. Please give us your support for Kickstarter and help us produce a great quality card game.